Imagine a battlefield drenched in the chaos of war, the air filled with the clangor of swords and the cries of the fallen. It's a scene of catastrophic defeat, where the fate of a great empire hangs in the balance. This is not a tale of fiction, but a pivotal moment in ancient history, the Battle of Cannae. In the heart of the Second Punic War, two great powers of the ancient world collided in a battle that would echo through the ages. It was a clash that tested the might of Rome against the cunning of Carthage, led by one of history's most brilliant military minds, Hannibal Barca. The Battle of Cannae stands as a testament to the horrors of war, the genius of strategy, and the indomitable spirit of human resilience. As we journey back over 2 millennia, let's uncover the events that led to this legendary confrontation and its profound impact on the course of history. The story of Cannae is rooted in the deep-seated animosity between two of the ancient world's most formidable powers, Rome and Carthage. This rivalry, born out of a struggle for supremacy in the Mediterranean, set the stage for a series of conflicts known as the Punic Wars. The First Punic War, a protracted and brutal conflict, had seen Rome emerge victorious, gaining control over Sicily. But the embers of this rivalry smoldered, awaiting the winds that would ignite them into a raging inferno. Enter Hannibal Barca, a name that would become synonymous with military genius and Rome's nemesis. Born into a Carthaginian family distinguished for its military prowess, Hannibal was raised on tales of Carthage's glory and Rome's growing threat. His father, Hannibal Barca, instilled in him a deep-seated animus against Rome. This indoctrination bore fruit, and Hannibal rose to become not just a general, but a harbinger of Rome's nightmares. Hannibal's audacity knew no bounds. In 218 BCE, he embarked on what would become one of the most legendary military campaigns in history. His journey across the Alps with a contingent of war elephants was a feat of unprecedented boldness and strategic brilliance. The treacherous terrain and harsh conditions claimed many lives, yet Hannibal emerged on the other side of the Alps with a battle-hardened army, ready to challenge Rome on its turf. This bold maneuver took Rome by surprise. Accustomed to being the aggressors, the Romans found themselves on the defensive against an enemy within their borders. Hannibal's incursion into Italy wasn't just a military invasion, it was a psychological warfare that shook the very foundations of the Roman Republic. On the other hand, Rome, with its legions, represented the pinnacle of military organization and discipline. The Roman army, a mix of Roman citizens and allied forces, was a formidable war machine. Its tactics, centered around the disciplined maneuvers of its legions, had been honed through centuries of warfare. The Roman military system was not just a fighting force, it was an expression of the Roman state's values and societal structure. But the Roman army, despite its might and discipline, was about to be tested as never before. Hannibal's approach to warfare, marked by flexibility, surprise, and a deep understanding of his enemy's psychology, posed a challenge unlike any Rome had faced. His victories at the River Trebia and Lake Trasimene were not just defeats for Rome. They were humiliations that pierced the aura of invincibility that had long surrounded the Roman legions. As Hannibal's shadow grew longer over Italy, the Roman Senate grappled with a crisis of confidence. The Roman Republic, which had not faced a threat of this magnitude in its history, was forced to reevaluate its military strategies and leadership. It was a time of introspection, reorganization, and preparation for what would become one of the greatest battles in ancient history. In this charged atmosphere, the stage was set for a confrontation of epic proportions. The Carthaginian generals' unconventional tactics, marked by agility and surprise, presented a formidable challenge that Rome had not anticipated. The devastating losses Rome suffered at Trebia and Lake Trasimene were not merely military defeats. They were psychological blows that undermined the Roman belief in their military invincibility. The Roman response to Hannibal's incursions was a mix of alarm and resolve. Rome, known for its disciplined legions and military might, found itself facing a war on its own soil, a scenario it had not encountered for many generations. The Roman Senate, under immense pressure to act, decided to confront Hannibal with a show of overwhelming force. In a bold move, they mustered one of the largest armies in their history, determined to crush the Carthaginian threat once and for all. Commanding this massive Roman force were two consuls, Gaius Terentius Varro and Lucius Aemilius Paulus. These men represented the polarities of Roman military leadership: Varro, impetuous and aggressive, and Paulus, more cautious and strategic. Their joint command was a reflection of the Roman political system, which often paired consuls with differing viewpoints. This dynamic, while intended to balance power, also set the stage for conflict and indecision at critical moments. Meanwhile, Hannibal, fully aware of the Roman response, prepared for the inevitable confrontation. He had not only proved himself on the battlefield, but also demonstrated an acute understanding of his enemy's psychology. Hannibal's choice of the battlefield was a strategic decision that showcased his tactical ingenuity. He chose the plains of Cannae in southeastern Italy, an area that favored his smaller but more maneuverable army. As the two forces converged at Cannae, the stage was set for a battle that would go down in history as one of the greatest displays of military strategy. The Roman army, confident in its numbers and eager for retribution, was ready to end Hannibal's campaign with decisive action. According to some historical accounts, the Roman forces numbered over 80,000, a colossal army poised to crush Hannibal's significantly smaller contingent. On the other hand, Hannibal's forces, though outnumbered, were seasoned by continuous warfare and loyal to their charismatic leader. Hannibal's multinational army comprised not only Carthaginians, but also a diverse array of mercenaries and allies from across the Mediterranean. This diversity was both a strength and a challenge, as Hannibal had to constantly maintain unity and motivation among his troops. The imminent clash at Cannae was more than a mere battle. It was a culmination of years of strategic planning, a test of endurance, and a confrontation of two radically different military doctrines. For Rome, it was an opportunity to reassert its dominance and quell the Carthaginian challenge. For Hannibal, it was a chance to bring his long-standing vendetta against Rome to a triumphant conclusion. In the days leading up to the battle, both sides made their preparations, with the tension and anticipation palpable among the ranks. The Romans, with their superior numbers, were poised for a frontal assault, hoping to overwhelm Hannibal's forces with sheer force. Hannibal, aware of the Roman tactics, devised a plan that would utilize his army's mobility and his superior cavalry to devastating effect. As dawn broke on the fateful day of August 2nd, 216 BCE, two of the ancient world's greatest armies faced each other on the plains of Cannae. The decisions made and the actions taken in the following hours would forever change the course of history. The morning of August 2nd, 216 BCE, dawned with a sense of impending history. On the plains near Cannae, two great armies, Roman and Carthaginian, stood ready for battle. Hannibal, the Carthaginian general, had positioned his troops in an unconventional formation. He placed his weaker Gaul and Iberian infantry in the center and his stronger African infantry at the wings. This strategic alignment was a calculated risk, designed to draw the Roman legions into a tactical trap. On the opposite side, the Roman commanders, Gaius Terentius Varro and Lucius Aemilius Paulus, confidently arrayed their massive army. The Roman force, comprising mainly heavy infantry, was arrayed in a traditional dense formation. They were confident that their superior numbers and the might of their legions would crush Hannibal's army. As the battle commenced, the Romans advanced with the intent to break through Hannibal's center. Initially, it seemed that the Roman strategy was working. Hannibal's center began to give way under the pressure of the Roman onslaught. But this was all part of Hannibal's master plan. As the Roman legions pushed forward, they became overextended, playing directly into Hannibal's hands. The critical moment of the battle unfolded as Hannibal's cavalry, commanded by Hannibal, executed a decisive maneuver. The Carthaginian horsemen, far superior to their Roman counterparts, routed the Roman cavalry and swept around to attack the Roman infantry from behind. This move was a pivotal point in the battle, as it left the Roman legions trapped and vulnerable. Meanwhile, Hannibal's flanks, composed of his most reliable troops, held firm and then began to push outward, curving around the overextended Roman lines. The Romans, packed tightly and unable to effectively maneuver, found themselves encircled in a classic double envelopment, known as a pincer movement. Hannibal's army had effectively encased the Roman legions in a deadly trap. The encirclement was complete, and what followed was a massacre. The Carthaginians methodically slaughtered the entrapped Roman soldiers. The Roman legions, renowned for their discipline and combat effectiveness, were rendered helpless in the chaos of the envelopment. The killing continued for hours, with no avenue for escape or surrender. By the end of the day, the Roman army lay decimated on the field of Cannae. The casualty figures were staggering and unprecedented. Contemporary sources claimed that up to 70,000 Roman soldiers were killed, including a large portion of the Roman political and military leadership. Among the dead were the consul Lucius Aemilius Paulus and numerous other officers and senators. The scale of the defeat was unlike anything Rome had ever experienced. The Battle of Cannae stands as a testament to Hannibal's tactical genius and his ability to turn his army's apparent weaknesses into strengths. His use of the double envelopment tactic at Cannae would be studied by military strategists for centuries to come as a classic example of battlefield tactics and maneuver warfare. Yet, despite this overwhelming victory, Hannibal faced significant limitations. His army, though victorious, was not in a position to march on Rome and lay siege to the city. Furthermore, he received little reinforcement or support from Carthage, leaving him unable to capitalize fully on his victory at Cannae. For the Roman Republic, the aftermath of Cannae was a time of deep crisis and introspection, yet it also demonstrated the resilience and adaptability that characterized Roman society and its military. In the wake of Cannae, Rome refused to concede defeat. Instead, they mobilized new armies and shifted their strategy. The Romans avoided further large-scale engagements with Hannibal and instead focused on a war of attrition, gradually wearing down the Carthaginian forces in Italy. The Battle of Cannae, thus, while a tactical masterpiece, did not translate into a strategic victory for Hannibal. It did, however, force Rome to evolve its military practices, leading to significant reforms in its army's structure and tactics. These changes would lay the groundwork for Rome's eventual success in the Second Punic War and its rise to Mediterranean dominance. The defeat at Cannae sent shockwaves through Rome. The city was gripped by fear and despair, with the specter of Hannibal at its gates. But the Roman response to this catastrophe showcased their resilience. Instead of capitulating, Rome mobilized. New armies were raised, and the focus shifted to a strategy of attrition against Hannibal. For Hannibal, despite his brilliant victory, Cannae was not the decisive blow he had hoped for. His army, though victorious, was not strong enough to lay siege to Rome itself. Moreover, he received little support from Carthage, which ultimately contributed to his failure to capitalize on the victory. The Battle of Cannae had far-reaching effects. It became a turning point in the Second Punic War, forcing Rome to adapt and evolve. Military reforms were undertaken, and new tactics were developed. The Roman legions became more flexible and versatile, changes that would lay the foundation for future conquests and the expansion of the Roman Empire. The Battle of Cannae remains one of the most studied and discussed military engagements in history. It stands as a testament to Hannibal's genius and a reminder of the unpredictable nature of war. The battle also exemplifies the resilience of Rome, a state that, even in the face of overwhelming defeat, managed to rise again and eventually triumph. The echoes of Cannae continue to resonate through the corridors of history. It teaches us about leadership, strategic thinking, and the cost of war. As we reflect on this monumental battle, we gain not just insights into the past, but lessons that remain relevant in the modern world. For more fascinating journeys through history, from the ancient times to the modern day, don't forget to subscribe to Ancient to Now on YouTube. Dive into the depths of history with us, exploring the events, personalities, and mysteries that have shaped our world. Click the subscribe button and join us on a voyage through time, uncovering the lessons of the past that illuminate our present and future.